Yesterday we already learned about the quick 01. So the quick 01 is the Python file to deal with the clustering with k-means, and we just want to show the k-means result into the web. Yeah. So if I run this, yeah, we already did the quick 02. So yesterday we have the super user, and then we create the user, and after we create the user, we run the quick 02. And there is a login page, okay? And this login page, yesterday I have the user is user, and then the password is the same with what I wrote in the PowerPoint. Yeah, the basic idea is only making the login function before you start the machine learning. Yeah. So let's see what is the function to check your password. So let's say if you want to use the user interface for the user login, here I created one new function which is about check password. And in Python, there can be a function inside another function. So in this case, I have a function check password, and inside this function, I have another function which is password enter. In this function, I would like to authenticate. So this authenticate means I would like to know whether the username and the password is the same with the username and the password that we have in the user profile information. Okay. So where is this ST? Yeah, ST is actually it's the Streamlit. Okay. So we are going to check this username and this password. So every input from the panel for the user and the password will go to this user, and we will check if user is not known. So we are going to check, okay, whether it has the correct answer or not based on the system. So if it is okay, then yeah, we are going to check whether the password, the information is in the Streamlit session state or not. So in this case, I'm going to check, yeah, for every input in the username, on change the password enter. So the password, whenever you enter the password, it will give you some kind of okay, I don't have the logout function. So let's see if I have the user. So there are some kind of information like press enter to apply. If you press enter, then there will be a message user not known or password incorrect. So it is automatically show the like the message. Okay, this is the error message, and it depends on the password enter. So if you have the password enter, if as long as the password is not correct, then you will show this error message. If the password is correct, then you will check based on the password enter. So the idea is only this one. So if you have the password correct, then yeah, you will check the password. If the if not in the session state, so the session state is if you are not logged in into the system, yeah, then yeah, it is just giving you the error message. So this is the first run. What we call this is the first one is to show the input for the username and password. But if it is not correct for every of your input, then it will show the errors. So if it is true, so if the check password is true, so this one, check password. Okay. If it is true, then we will do the remainder. Okay. So the quick 02, yeah, I think the remaining code are the same with the quick 01, but it has only the early part. So the early part is about the checking password from the user, and make sure that you have the session based on the user information that you input into the admin page. Okay, so when you run, you can see this user information, enter the username and the password that you just inserted into the admin page. And if you input the correct username and password, you will see the machine learning section. Okay. Now, I'm going to teach you if, let's say, you have some external code. You want to use the existing code and you just want to run in your computer. There are many codes which are available in the cloud. So you can have your code in GitHub. You can use any codes in the GitHub. And in order to run the code, we need to satisfy the requirement. Let's say, yeah, you need to install some of the relevant Python libraries. So for the next examples, it is related to the vision-based machine learning approach. And it requires OpenCV library and run the Streamlit code on the cloud. Maybe you can check the code first. Okay, I would like to run the code from the GitHub. So let's see what is this code. So I give you this code. You can check on the GitHub. It is GitHub user content. So this is the code in the Streamlit. It is a demo code in Python file. And in this demo file, they have this code to check the this is the computer vision. Okay, so okay, this one they have the label like if it is 0, then it is pedestrian. If the label is 1, it is biker. If the label is 2, is car. The level 3 is biker again. 5 and 7 are truck, and 9 are is traffic light. So if we want to give one image, how the model check those images, whether those images include the labels or not. So I can use the code here. Okay, let me stop. I will close the session. Okay, you can close the session here. So if you go to the terminal, you can do right click, and there are some options like you can find You can create a new session, you can close the session, and so on. So let me just close the session, and then I open a new terminal. And if I run this, okay, so you can see there's an error. The error message is no module name CV2. So this CV2 is not available in your computer. That's why I mentioned to you in the previous part, we need to install this OpenCV. So I will install it in this. Yeah, you can also see the error message in your PyCharm. Yeah, the module not found error. So no module name CV2. Let me close this one. And I will install it in my computer. I will install the OpenCV-Python. This is one of the library. CV means computer vision. So this OpenCV is an open source, and it is very famous library to deal with the computer vision. Once you finish installing this OpenCV-Python, you can try one more time with the Streamlit. So I'm going to run the Streamlit. And what is the file name? The file name is in this GitHub. So I can just give the link, and then if you run, if everything goes well, then you will see, okay, the YOLO is quite big on the model size. So it requires some time to download the model. As you can see here, the model is about 200 mega. Okay, so it is quite big. Okay, and of course, if you have a lot of data, when you create the model, then the model also will be big. It is obvious. So now it is just downloading the YOLO P3. So this is just an example for the Streamlit demo. For two. I cannot explain this one by one, but if you have interest on this one, yeah, you can take a look on the code. So today I just want to show the demo how if we have that procedure and we want to show it into this web. Okay, now the web has downloaded the model, and this is the Streamlit demo for the Udacity self-driving car image browser. There are some instruction whether you can like run the apps. So if you run the apps, you can see the computer vision. Now they are testing on this image. So the computer vision or the real time, it can give the bounding box, where is the human and where is the car. Okay? And also it shows some other object in very far away. So here it is the human annotated data. It means the human saw that there are one, two, three, there are three cars. There are 4, 2, 3, 4, 4 human, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8. And we have one truck. Okay? And then we have 1, 2, 3 traffic light. So every time we annotate, of course, we need to give the label. And based on the model, they have the parameter overlap 0.3 and confidence 0.5. And this is the result. The result here, as you can see, there are some images, but you cannot check it. Even though the annotator gave the human as the label here. Again, yeah, you can change the range, this one. Yeah, if you want to change this one, there might be some changes on the figure and etc. And then if you want to change the model threshold, oh, it seems there is no effect. And what frame that you want to see, if, for example, the biker, okay, there is no information about the biker. About the car, yeah, this is the perspective of car and etc. So when you design this one, of course, you need to know what is the data. So when you can create this kind of side panel and the main panel, you can fit with those data. Okay, so this is the example. Okay, so that's all about the data visualization with Streamlit. I hope that you have idea. If you want to apply the Streamlit, you can also do this one. And yeah, I teach you how to connect the Django and Streamlit. And then we also try the Streamlit with the external sources. Okay, so the last part that I want to explain, actually it is about the login. So for me, it is not that important, okay, because you can just use the existing code and then you can design your login function easily. I'm going to teach this one based on the GitHub information. Okay. So let's say I know that login function is a common. So I can find in GitHub. And if I found it in GitHub, I want to reuse it from the GitHub into my application. How can we use it? So I would like to explain about the login function, okay, and then how we can connect the project with the GitHub, and then hopefully, if there is any good time, I will explain how you can make the login with the social media login. So for example, if you use Google, and then yeah, you want to set up in your computer to use Google, then how can you log in with Google? You don't need to register. You don't need to make a new username. You don't need to make a new password. Just log in with Google, for example. Okay, this is the login page. In the basic function, when we are using the login, there are some functions that you may need to know. The first is the login function. The login function means you need to enter the website with a credential. So you have user and you have password. And instead of login, we can register. In the register means you can register a new user and password. And there should be another function, we call it logout. So it is to finish a session from a website. And you need to apply password change because many systems nowadays, they have very unique username and password. And many people forget about the password. So there should be one kind of function about modifying the password. So in this case, I would like to use the function. So we are going to use the existing library widget-tweak. What is widget-tweaks? Widget-tweaks actually it is tweak the form field rendering in templates, not in Python level form definitions. It alters the CSS classes and the HTML attributes. That should be enough for designers to customize field presentation. So for example, using CSS and obstructive JavaScript. So you can use that one without touching the Python code. In the library, widget-tweaks, it is based on the MIT. So if the license is MIT, you can use it for free. So you can go to the terminal or the command prompt and then let's install it. Because you are using the PyCharm, I think it will be good if you just install it in PyCharm. So let me close this session. So let me install it. I'm installing the Django widget-tweaks in my computer. Now the library has been installed. Next, I would like to teach you if you are going to get a code from Github. So later on, you can check. There are many functions. There are many things that you can get from Github, and you can use VCS, version control system, from the origin. So last time we applied a very simple Github. I'm going to explain again about this Github, and we can use the VCS with fork. Okay, do you know fork? There is a function in Github. We call it fork. So it is similar like the fork that we usually use for eating. Yeah. It means we will have some kind of branch. So we are going to create a fork. So it means the branch outside from the Github. But in the VCS, sorry, this is VCS, not PSC. For the VCS with brands, so it is in the internal Github. So if you are using fork, it means you are going to export or doing the external process from the Github. But the brands, it means it is just the internal in your Github. Now, I'm going to make a new login. Okay. I have prepared one GitHub project. So this is the GitHub project. If you want to take a look, so this is a login project. It contains of the login project and the chart and the templates. And then we have the chart and the registration. So I'm going to apply this one. Okay. Now I'm going to use the login project, and let's close this PyCharm. Okay. I will close this PyCharm, close the project. So if you close the project, now you are in the first page of the PyCharm, or it is the welcome page of the PyCharm. In this welcome page, you can use the remote desktop. So it is to connect to other computers, or you can have the customization. You can customize your color theme and etc. You can manage the plugin that you want to use in your PyCharm. And there is also a tutorial. So if you want to learn the PyCharm by yourself, you can also use this one. Now I'm going to use the projects, but I do not want to create a new project. I want to get a new project from the Github. There are three options: new project, open, and get from VCS. VCS is the version control system. I'm going to use this one, and you will see that we have the URL. The URL means where is your GitHub or the related projects that you want to use on your system. So in this case, I will just give this login project GitHub link. And then if I give this login project, it will automatically make a new project, which is login project. And because I know that it is a GitHub, so I'm going to use Git. Okay, I will clone. Clone means I want to copy exactly the same code from what we have in the GitHub. So sometimes there will be questions like this one, whether you trust this project or not. So I will trust this one, and now it has been duplicated. Okay, so it means you do not need to download and then put into your PyCharm. So you can just use the link. If you know the link from the internet, from the GitHub, then just put the link in the new CVS, and it will automatically give you the environment in PyCharm. So you need to have a new configuration here. After you finish with downloading the file into your local, so you need to add the configuration. So here is the add configuration. If you check this one, there should be something in the left panel and there should be something in the right panel. If there is no information on this configuration, then we can create the configuration. We can add new. In this case, I'm going to use the Django server, and then name. Okay, I guess you can define your own name. Let me use the login. Okay, so the type or the name can be anything. Now it mentioned that Django is not importable in this environment, so you need to check the environment variables. In my case, because I didn't declare that one, oh sorry, not the Python buffer, but interpreter. Okay, we need to fill in the interpreter because it is a new project. And once you set up with this interpreter, you can click OK. Yeah, as I mentioned to you, we need to have the name for the project. Let's say this is the login project. And then you need to check the availability of the Python interpreter in this case. And then last time in this procedure, you need to click OK. So let's see, what if you try to run? So I'm going to run. Now it is the first page. Okay. In this first page, you can see the title, Django Python Web Framework, and then we have one link which is home. So whenever you click, yeah, it just go to this home because yeah, this is the home. And we have information anonymous. So there can be two. The first is login and the other is register. So can I log in here? So you need to log in into the system. So if you want to make your ID, you can log in into the system and make the ID admin, and then the password is IME203. So let's try to register. Okay. Username admin, password IME203. Oh, this username already exists. Oh. Okay, let me check on the database. So there is no, okay, I think I need to make this database open here. So sometimes in the database, you can just drag and drop, and then it will create a new project. So this is the DB2. It is different with the DB just DB. So I create a new object here. You can see there is an authorized user here. Okay. So this authorized user means you can create a new username. You can create a new password. So here, if I double click, and you can see there is one username, which is admin. When is this one? Oh, okay. I make this one on last week when we make the Streamlit. I make one new username, I guess. Okay. If you want to add one more or two more, okay, you can add plus. and the password. Maybe it's not. It's good if we have this one. Okay, the username has been available. So let me just use user, and then the password is the same of IME 203, and then I have of IME 203. Okay, now you already finished with the registration. After you finish with the registration, you can log in. So the name is user, and I have the password like this one. So if you are not logged in into the system, then you cannot see other options. You cannot see the Google chart, you cannot see the other framework. So if you log out, okay, so it just see the home. If you if you are a member of this page, then you can have options. Then you will see Google chart. What is the Google chart? Yeah, this is the example that we had before. So if the user successfully input the password, then they can see what are inside of this platform. Okay. So in the case if you cannot run the project, yeah, maybe you need to do this one. Do make migration and then migrate. And sometimes you need to check also the file and settings, because there are some widget or there are some function that you need to specify in the settings.py. So you can include here, but of course if you input here, then you need to understand how they apply for the encryption. Okay. Out user. So the out user, you can see the current user has been added one, and it just enter on 709 here, and the username is user. And what about the password? Yeah, this Django provides a kind of pattern. Okay? So you don't need to make your own database for user, but you can use the existing user from this out user. Okay, that's first section about GitHub. Okay, any questions? Why I keep using PSC? Okay. So before I enter a new section, I would like to explain about the PCS with fork and PCS with branch. If it is forking, we call it forking for the left part, and we call it branching for the right part. If it is forking, it means we keep branches separated by the user. So I have user one, and I read there are many GitHub available. So there is another user two. So I'm going to use this code. Okay, this code is good. I want to use it. But if you directly fork, if you want to connect to that code in online, then you can use like the one that I show you about the GitHub. So the link, share the information. Now, if I want to modify this code, if you want to modify this code, of course, the user two should ask permission. If the user two want to access and modify the code from the user one, of course, they need to ask permission. But we can just copy from this user one into our environment and let the user one know that I'm going to copy it. And then let's say if, for example, I improve the code and it goes well. So the user one want to know the result from the user two. So they can also update the code each other. We call it, this is forking. So the user two fork the code from ID one, from the user one. So it keeps branches separated by the user, and then it reduces clutter in the primary repository. And your team process reflects the external contributor process. So there's another collaborators, or there's another contributors to your code. It makes it more difficult to see all the branches that are active. So this is the cons, or this is the demerit of using fork. Because if there are so many branches, I do not know. Maybe we have another user 3. I have another user 4. So some of them are very good on programming. So many users try to fork. The problem is I cannot see how many forks that are active. And then collaborating on a branch is trickier. If you make fork, the branch is clear, but if you are going to use the branch, we call it branching, so it's a little bit tricky. So the fork owner needs to add the person as a collaborator. Okay? So there is another way: fork, branch, and collaborators. So you need to understand the concept of multiple remotes in Git. It requires additional mental bootcooking, and this will make the workflow more difficult for people who aren't super comfortable with Git. So if you want to work, let's say in your team members, you want to work together, then the GitHub is very good, very useful. But if you're not familiar, it will take more time. It will time consuming. So branching is another option to get the original code without changing the code. So we have the pros, which is keeps all the work being done around the project in one place. So as you know, the graphics, if we have the code improvement, so this is the new version, this is a new version, this is a new version. And the new version here, it creates a new branch. We call it, this is the branching. So this is a new branch, and in some time, they want to merge with the original link. Then you can also do this one. Maybe after you do some tests on this one, I will need to make a new release before we put it into the platform. So all collaborators can push to the same branch to collaborate with it. And there's only one Git remote to deal with. So you will not be confused. However, the cons, branches that get abandoned can pile up more easily. And your team contribution process does not match the external contributor process. Because branching, it means, as I mentioned to you, is only from the internal GitHub. So if I have my own GitHub, if I want to use branch, I can create a new branch. But if I want to invite others, they need to be the collaborator. And sometimes the team contribution does not match. And you need to add team members as contributor before they can branch. So someone who can branch in the GitHub is only the collaborator. Okay, the idea is like this one. If I have an original code, so I'm going to fork it. Fork means, yeah, I want to create a new branch. And then after I create a new branch, in the local machine, whether you want to access the origin or you want to access the upstream. The upstream means the original, the origin means the fork. That's the terminology given by the GitHub. Okay, let's have a break. Okay, I will continue after the break.